and welcome to a new episode of Frederique Knits and Spins. My name is Frederique. I live in County Wicklow in Ireland. I was originally born in the Netherlands, but I've lived here for the last 18, nearly 19 years. The two things that always grab my attention and that I love the most in life are wool and languages. I am a teacher and translator, and I'm a knitter, a spinner, and I am learning very much because I really want to teach knitting. The last vlog on here was titled From Fleece to Yarn. That was a vlog that was viewed a lot of times, and thank you all very much for comments, likes, tips, tricks and follows also over the last while. It was very encouraging to read that I'm not the only one experimenting with spinning, but also with scouring wool and preparing it for spinning. And I love experimenting with it when I get the time. So today I'm going to share some of the finished projects from the last 2 months. Some of the projects that I'm working on, they're not that many because I have finished quite a few things. I wanted to get my needles cleared, and some of the plans I have for the next while. So the first project I would like to talk about is the shawl that I'm wearing at the moment. You might recognize it. It was the Mystery Musikal, the Mystery Knit Along shawl from Stephen West from last year, 2025. And even though I had plenty of things going on, I had a good few nice skeins of yarn, special yarns for a nice scarf in my stash, and I decided to take part. So this is the result. It is a very big scarf, and I will give you a little view of it here. But because it is so big, I will also post some B-reel footage here so that you can see what it looks like when I hold it up completely. So it has some very different sections, as you can see. It started out in the first week with these scallops that you can see here. And the interesting technique in there was a welt. A welt is basically a ridge of a stockinette, and then at the back you need to knit into the previous garter row, and you're kind of fixing that piece of the knitwear with the previous section. So it rolls up and you get this lovely texture like that. I thought that was a very interesting technique. It was a little laborsome because it took a bit of time to get it done and wasn't very fast, but then there were other sections in the scarf that were much faster. So I really enjoyed knitting that first section. I took it off, but I'll show then what the next section was. So after that section, section 2 was completely different because that was the section with all the diamonds in it. Not just that, diamonds and these rows of alternating colors. It's just as if it's woven. So I thought it was a very nice section as well to knit, but I couldn't really see how it combined well with the scallops. But as I was reading online, when you're doing a Stephen West project, you just have to trust the process. He gives fantastic explanations on his YouTube channel because every clue he videos the full process or everything you need to know, and he shows how to create your stitches, especially if it's a new technique for you. So that all went well, and I thought we'll just move on. I managed to pretty much keep up with the pace of the project. So the third clue, so the third part that we knitted was this wavy section to the right of the scallops, which is beautiful. It starts here at this line, and then it kind of flows out completely. And then the fourth section was a band of brioche stitches, and I included garter stitches and some eyelet stitches here as well. Originally the pattern asks for brioche, 3 sections of brioche separated by a garter row, but I had seen someone else combining different techniques in the different bands at the end, and I quite liked that. Plus, as you know, brioche netting takes a bit of time, and especially when it's 2-color brioche, and I was kind of eager to finish the shawl at that stage because I was going away for a weekend and I had a vision of wearing it that weekend. So I thought it was quite creative to use all the different colors from the project in the different patterns that already had occurred throughout the project. So that's what I did. So yeah, the last clue is basically bringing all those pieces, all those the 3 previous clues together, and you have that band going all the way along to from left to right. This is not a triangular scarf or a semicircle. It's kind of a long scarf, and because of that, that's one of the reasons that I find it quite difficult to wear or to decide how to style it. I think what works best is when you bring one section of it to the front and then kind of drape the rest around you underneath, because this section is so different to the wavy section here that it's kind of unfair to fold it over, but then you can just show one piece one day maybe, and then the other piece another day, or you can be very creative, wear a dress and kind of drape it around you, and you can see the full design. But anyway, I find it a bit tricky, so it's more a piece of art than something I find it difficult to wear just in everyday life, basically. So that's what it comes down to. What else is nice to say? The yarns, of course. Which yarns did I use? I used some nice quality yarns, so I'll tell you what they are. The blue one is Simi Studio. It's a blue color it's a hand dye from Simi Studio. Simi Studio is a sub brand of Scheepjes, the Dutch brand. Then the yellow is Townhouse Yarns. It's an Irish brand from a sister company from This Is Knit in Dublin. It's the single malt. Then the green actually is a combination of mohair and baby alpaca by BC Garn. The baby alpaca is from BC Garn and the mohair is from Townhouse Yarns as well, in their color Burren, and together they make up this lovely warm green. It's an apple green with different shades in that Burren lace. I love it. And then the kind of burgundy color is Embers by Townhouse Yarns as well. I think it's their Fade Street 4-ply. So they were all special skeins that I had collected over the last couple of years, and I put them together and I thought that's a nice pop of colour, nice for autumn and winter when everything is a bit grey. So I'm still happy with the colour combination and I really enjoyed the process. Will I do it again? Maybe not this year, maybe the year after again, but I love Stephen West's designs. I have knitted a few of his other scarf designs. I knit the Boneyard shawl years ago for my mother-in-law, and she was also the recipient of my Winter Light shawl that I knitted with handspun yarns. But so yeah, I do really like his designs and can recommend it. Very curious to know if there's anyone who have also knit the MCAL from last year and what colors you used. I've seen amazing creations on social media and on Ravelry, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. But I'm also curious to know if you find it wearable or find it tricky to style it. So that's all about the Mystery Musikal. Another project I finished was for Christmas. I have 2 daughters and they love a hot water bottle every now and then. So I had some yarn some fiber, and I spun the yarn for this myself. So I created the hot water bottle covers with the yarn that I hand spun. As you can see, it is a bulky yarn. It's a 2-ply, and I am used to spinning quite finely, so it was very tricky to feed more yarn into the orifice of the spinning wheel, and yeah, when you're used to knitting or spinning fine, you treadle quite fast, but now I had to let it take up very slowly. Yeah, all in all, it took a bit of time to get used to spinning a thicker yarn, but I managed it in the end. And then I made a second one for my other daughter, which is one strand of spun yarn in a nice multicolor merino fiber that I got from my friend, and I plied that together with a recycled super chunky yarn from, I think, World of Wool in England as well. So that was some leftover recycled yarn from a jumper I'd made and I had ripped. And yeah, I think the result is quite nice. They enjoy it, at least they love having their hot water bottles, and it was just a nice present under the tree. The pattern for this, I kind of based it on a pattern that I had seen before from the brand All on More, but this is a completely different stitch number. Stitch count was different because my wool was thicker than the wool used in that pattern, so I kind of freewheeled it. A nice project. It was very quick to make because spinning and knitting that, I did one per night, both spinning and knitting if you add up the hours. But I have to say I spread it out over 2 days because I had to set the yarn after I'd spun it and plied it, because otherwise it would have twisted too much. So I blocked it, or basically I washed it and let it dry, and only then I could knit it. But yeah, the heater was on anyway because it was midwinter when I did that, so it dried pretty quickly. Nice project, and I can recommend doing that if you have some fiber and you want to whip up a quick handmade present. I have knitted quite a few pairs of socks as well. It was my youngest daughter's birthday last November, and she has a thing with gulls, or seagulls have a thing with her. And then I came across the designs by Grey Owl Designs. She has a range of seagull inspired knits, and from a sweater to a hat, but also socks. And as I got into sock knitting over the last year or two, and I love colour work as well, I came across this design and I had shown it to my daughter and she loved it. So as a surprise, I knitted them for her birthday. She couldn't, I didn't want her to see it because I didn't want to raise her expectations too much, because it's colour work in socks, so it's fine knitting and colour work. It took some time, but I did manage to finish it fast enough. Not completely finished for her birthday. I had one sock finished for her birthday and the second sock 5 days afterwards or so. So I gave her one sock for her birthday, and but she was chuffed and she loves wearing them. So I have a picture of them here. So the pattern is by Grey Owl Design, and I used the yarn Filcolana Arwetta for it in 4 different colours. I have all the details of my patterns on of the project that I knit on my Ravelry page. So if you're interested, you can see them here, see them there, and also which yarns I used for them. Then the second pair of socks that I knitted, I started them in 2025 and I finished them at the start of the new year. And I have them just here. They are just a pair of vanilla socks, and I used some leftover yarn that I bought in England 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, from Bird Street Yarn. I think the colour is called Piglet. They don't have it anymore at the moment, but I had already knitted socks for my eldest daughter with that, and I had some left over. And I was quite interested in knitting a pair of socks with contrasting cuff and heel and then toes. So that's what I did. It's very straightforward design. It's a standard vanilla sock design. I used the pattern by Wool and Vine or Christine Learer that I've used before. So yeah, I'm wearing them very often, and that's why I also wanted to knit more socks. So the next pair of socks was knitted from handspun yarn. I bought some fibre at the Irish Fibre Festival in November last year, and the result of which, this is a leftover from the pair of socks, is this nice variegated yarn. I have 2 little balls of it left. I bought 100 grams and I wanted to make socks with it. I could see a pair of socks in that, but I knew that a sock needs quite a sturdy yarn, or at least maybe a 4-ply. And so I started out spinning the yarn in such a way, I split the strands of wool so that I was kind of color coordinating so I could ply 2 strands together. But I quickly gave up on that because I hadn't thought it out well enough, and I lost track of which strand of yarn belonged to which ball that I had already spun, so I wasn't well organized. But I came up with a solution. I was reading in my spinning book with lots of tips and tricks, and obviously you can also chain ply your yarn, resulting in a 3-ply yarn basically. And the other benefit is that when you have a piece of the fibre that is blue, which then moves into purple and then yellow, those colors are gradually changing. And if you chain ply, you ply the colors onto each other and you keep that gradual change. When you combine 3 strands and you ply it then together, you might get different colors at the same time, and you get all the 3 different colors, which results in a completely different type of not a different type of yarn, but a different color effect. And I liked the chain ply. And the other thing I did, apart from chain plying, I also decided to give it some extra spin so that the result would be a stronger yarn, which would be suitable for hard wearing items like socks. A very exciting project. And then my friends, or one of my friends and my daughter, they wanted to knit socks together, and they wanted me to explain to them how to knit socks. Now, I'm not much of an authority on socks because I had only knitted about 3 pairs at that stage, but you improve, and when you've just learned, I was happy to share my knowledge with them. We had a good YouTube tutorial, so we got together the week before Christmas and started out with the hem and the leg, and then I gave them the instructions and the videos, and we met again just after Christmas for a second session where we covered the heel, because the heel is obviously always a little tricky, or maybe even the trickiest part of the sock, and we did a simple heel flap and gusset heel construction, which worked out really well, and I managed to finish my socks just earlier this week, and I have washed and blocked them. One of them is still a little bit wet, so it's still on the blocker, but this is the result, and I'm quite chuffed with them. They're not the same, but they're still the same colors are in there, if you know what I mean. This one starts out with the purple and this one starts out yellow, but you can see that it's knitted from the same wool. This is a DK weight. I worked it out as a DK weight, so I found a design, or I just worked out what the stitch count would be. I used how many stitches? 48. I cast on 48 stitches, and that was perfect. With and it worked much faster than the fine 64 stitches cast on I use for most of my fingering weight socks. So this is much quicker, but I don't mind that it's a little bit more rustic in the way it looks. They're super soft when you wear it, especially after blocking. The Blue Faced Leicester is quite a hard wearing. It's good for socks. So I'm curious how it will go, and how they will look after wearing them a few times, because I find that socks that have a big part of merino in them, say 80%, 25%, or 80-20, they start pilling at the ankle quite fast if you wear them, and that's a pity. So I am kind of veering towards the slightly less soft yarns, the sturdier yarns, and I think Blue Faced Leicester is one of the yarns that is extremely suitable for socks. So yeah, it was a great project to do. I really enjoyed knitting them, and I am already eyeing up my next pair of socks, or next pattern that I'd like to try out. Then another project that I finished, which was kind of an intermediate project, is this hat. It's a design by Kutova Kika or Veronica Lindberg, and it's officially, or originally, it's meant for 3 strands of mohair held together. I wanted a black hat because that was missing in my collection, and I did have a black hat, but that was just a synthetic or an acrylic hat with the emblem of the logo of my brother-in-law's company, which I always fold over. But I liked the shape of that hat, and I thought, no, I want something in black that I hand knitted. So I looked up a design, and I found this in Veronica Lindberg's first book, Knit This, that's what it's called. And I looked in my stash, and I had some black mohair, but not enough for 3 strands. But I also had some Farm to Yarn 4-ply by Townhouse Yarns and Eru, and I combined the 1 strand of mohair with the 4-ply, and this is the result. A nice brim that I folded over like 2.5 times. It was quite tight initially, I thought, around the head, but it fits really nicely and it's really snug, and I've been wearing it lots. And I cast it on my way to the Netherlands when I was going to visit family, and I was nearly finished, but I just lost yarn chicken and needed to order some more mohair to be able to finish it. So I did that once I got home and got to wear it lots since. So that's a really nice design, and I will knit it again, I'd say. Right, for the next part of this vlog, I've had to switch on a different light because it's gone dark. It's the end of January, so we don't have light very long, even though the days are getting longer. There's a nice stretch. The next hat that I finished, or pretty much finished around the same time as the black hat, was this lovely seed hat. I've put a photo of it down here. This was a test knit for Ryan Koenig, and it was knit in a bulky weight, a quick knit, and as you can see, it has a nice moss pattern. I don't know if you can hear the rain as I'm recording. It's unbelievable. We're getting some rain here in Ireland at the moment. There's floodings in different places, which is not very nice, but hopefully this will be a nice chat to talk us through the rain. Anyway, the seed hat. So I don't have it here because I've gifted it to a friend, and if you are going to have a look at the detail on my Ravelry page, you will see it nicely modelled by my friend Gillian as well. It can be worn with the brim down. You need to knit it a bit longer to make the hat a bit longer to fold it up. That was one of the results of the test. I'm not sure if it's released yet already. It's kind of between a hat and a beanie, but what I loved about this hat is the structure of the seed pattern at the top. It's really, really nice. And the other thing that worked out really well was that I worked with 2 different pinks from the same yarn company, Eru. The one color is called Rosebud and the other color is Otherworld, and because they were slightly different, and I held them together, it's just giving this beautiful marled effect. So and that's what I love with colors. When you're holding strands of yarn together, sometimes you get the most surprising beautiful effects because of that. So that was the second hat that I finished in the last while. And the other thing I wanted to show to you is this. I only made this earlier in the week together with my friend Gillian. I have lots of wool lying around here because I prepared that sheep's fleece last summer, or at the end of the summer, for spinning. I also have an alpaca blanket here, or an alpaca fleece that I started picking and cleaning, etc., which is partly ready for spinning, but the leftovers of it were I had them all in a big bag, and I've recently tidied up this office, and so it's nice and organized again for the new year, and I have all those leftovers in a big bag. She had seen an idea to make these garden ornaments using natural wool or leftovers from sheep shearing or whatsoever, and I thought, I have all that just here because it just contains of some chicken wire, as you can see, and we have filled them up with this is blue texel yarn, and this is from Suffolk sheep, and that I think here there's some alpaca in there as well. Part of it is washed, part of it is unwashed, so there's still some lanolin in it, but the idea is you hang it up outside, the birds, they can sit on it, they can pick some out of it and use for their nests if they want to. It's all natural, but it's just something that you could do with your leftover wool fiber if you're not using it for spinning, and apart from that, of course, you can also use it as compost or even as a cover for your pots when there's still a threat of frost and you don't want any frost to go into your bulbs or into your new seeds or new plants. One of those ideas. It's time for some works in progress. As I said, I don't have too many because I have finished quite a few things. So there's 4 projects that I have on the go. One is work related. But the first one I'd like to talk to you about is this sweater. You may recognize it. I've talked about it last year at some stage, but I left it for a while. This is the Spot Sweater by Anne Ventzel. And I'm knitting it in sock yarn that was dyed by Mira Isam, a Dublin dyer. She also organises the Dublin Fibre Festival, I should say. And the other yarn that I'm using is a handspun merino. So it's all merinos, and I'm holding it together with both strands, both colours, I'm holding them together with some kid silk. So stranded knitting. The inside looks okay. I've had to rip back a part of it when I had just finished. I had knitted this up to the armholes, so I had split for the armholes, and then I had left it for a couple of months over the summer, and I only picked it up again in November. And then I started knitting, and I noticed that I had made it different because I had started subconsciously to hold the yarns different, and my color dominance wasn't right. So I had to rip back about 5 rounds of the body because you could clearly see that the white wasn't popping up anymore, and I was holding the strands incorrectly in my hands, as you probably know from collar knitting. So since then I've completed the body. The body is absolutely fine, and I've completed one sleeve, this one here, and I am about 60% ready with, I'm just going to put it back a little bit so you can see it better, but 60% finished with my second sleeve. I think there may be 2 problems at the moment. The first problem is that I don't really like the neckline. It's if you look at the pattern, it is one that stands up just a little bit, but this one stands up quite a lot, so I might redo the collar so that it's not as tight and not standing up as much. So that's just something that I have to decide on, but maybe I will give it a block first and see what it looks like. If it's okay, then I'll leave it. It's the other thing is, when I finished the sleeve, the body is knitted on what is the 4.5. So and the sleeve is the same, and only at the cuff you change to 3.5 to finish the cuff, so that it's a bit tighter. I had stopped making the creases on the sleeve much earlier than the pattern prescribed. So I think you need to continue with your decreases on the inside of the arm of the sleeve about 19 times for my size, but I stopped after 12 times or even 11 because otherwise I felt it was getting too tight. Because I was trying it on. That's the great thing when you're knitting it top down, you can try it on and see how it feels. So, and I like my sleeves to be a little bit wider and not too tight. I know with blocking it will get a little bit tighter, but then I had cast off or I changed needles, and I kind of vaguely remember that I picked up 3.5 and I saw 3.75 on the tip of my needles when I changed them to 3.5. And then when I started knitting the second sleeve and I picked up my 4.5 needle, which was in the pattern, I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't knit that first sleeve completely in 3.75, did I? So I started to doubt myself. I started measuring and feeling and tried it on, but I couldn't see it yet, so I had to continue. And I thought, okay, well, I have to finish the second sleeve first anyway. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm finishing that, but as I go, I think I might be right in my assumption that it is actually, that I did actually knit it in 3.75, this one, instead of 4.5, because there is a difference in width. So I'll see how bad it is. But it looks like I will redo the sleeve from here to the bottom. So it's a bit of a bummer because I really want to finish this because I want to wear it still for a little bit. And I want to cast on a new sweater. And I told myself not to cast on the new sweater until I have finished this one. So anyway, updates to follow another time. The back of the sweater looks lovely as well. There are just a few stitches that pop out a bit more, and I can see it close because I'm close up here. But that's because I hand spun the creamy merino. It's yarn that I recycled, basically. It's a fiber I recycled. So. But I'm quite pleased with how fine it is, and I absolutely love the result. It is a big project. It's definitely not a quick knit, but the great thing this sweater has taught me is how to hold my yarns, two different colors on one hand when knitting. So I've tried a knitting thimble. It's this kind of a ring around your hand with two openings on the side, and you can lead your yarn around it. I don't have one handy here. I should have had one, but I'll include a picture here. That's one option of using. Of course, you can also hold the dominant color in your left hand and then the other color in your right hand. I'm a continental style knitter, so I could then throw just the non-dominant color and knit continental the main color. I'm now used to just winding it over my my index finger and tensioning it with my last two fingers and holding my hand quite relaxed because I don't get any cramps or whatsoever, and I can basically kind of flick the yarn over the needle with my left hand finger. So yeah, it's it's practice. That's what it is. I will think twice before I start a big project like that again, because you need to have the time. You definitely need not to be in a rush, and that was the case with this one. But it is coming up to a year since I cast this on, because I was traveling to Switzerland last year, and that's where I knitted the first rows of this sweater. And I don't know if I've ever taken that long to knit a sweater. Anyway, to be continued, and I hope to give you a good positive result the next time. The last work in progress that I'll discuss today is a new project that I cast on, which is going to be a scarf. And I just have this little stitch marker here to indicate that this is the right side and the wrong side is here. It is the Leaflette by Latest Knits, or Justyna Lokorska, if I'm spelling that correctly. I'll do the old-fashioned way and show you a paper copy of it here. This is the design. I have knitted the leaf kerchief, I think it was called, which was a test knit for Justyna. I did that last year, I think, in the course of the year, which is a very short scarf, a bit like the Sophie scarf, but a completely different design. And I just fell in love with the lace design of this. It's so beautiful. It's like a little leaf, and it's repeated then all the time. I had started this with just a silk or a kid silk, a nice one that I had picked up in Paris, but because of the fluffiness, the detail didn't really pop through, so I decided to rip it. I had a look at my stash and I found this beautiful yarn from the Yarny Octopus. It's a yarn company in the UK, and I picked this one up when I was in Britain 2 years ago when I was holidaying in Cornwall. I went to a beautiful shop called Stitches and Cream in Falmouth, and I absolutely loved that shop. I have another skein which I will partly use for the scarf because it's quite a long version, but I hope that I'll have enough left for a pair of socks, for which I usually use around 50 to 55 grams, and this is 75 merino and 25% nylon, so it will be a good one for a sock as well. And I think there will be many more socks knitted this year because I've literally started to get addicted to sock knitting. So it's time to finish for today. I mentioned I have another project on the needles, which is a skirt that I am sample knitting for Eru. It's a skirt, and you can see part of it right behind me here, which is an older sample knit in one of their previous yarns. But the skirt is knit in panels, 4 panels that have to be seamed together, so it's knit flat, and this is one of them. I'm going to spend a vlog on that, and that's part of my plans for the next while, to show how you actually can seam a piece together and why it is useful to sometimes not knit in the round. Another project that I am hoping to start as soon as my spot sweater is finished is the Sumunöle, this one, by Villaule. I don't know if I have pronounced that correctly, but I've had this Alafos Lopi sitting in my stash for a long time, a gift from a friend who had bought it and wasn't happy with the kind of itchy feel of the Alafos Lopi. I loved it. I could see a sweater I'd use for walking, gardening, even ice skating when I do that in winter times when I go to the Netherlands. I could see myself do that. So that's the plan, and I can't wait to cast that on. It'll be a much quicker knit, I know that for sure, than this one. Thank you very much for watching today, or I don't know when you will be watching this, but I hope you enjoyed me talking about all the different projects. Last thing, I'm sure people are wondering what I'm actually wearing. This is the Costa sweater. It is a beautiful sweater that I knit 2.5 years ago already at this stage. It's a pattern by Maartje Bos, a Dutch designer, and she published a book which is predominantly in Dutch, but a lot of her patterns, and I will link it under here on Ravelry, a lot of her patterns have also been translated into English. So yeah, I wear this an awful lot. It's one that doesn't pill or hardly pills. It has balloon sleeves, and I've also knitted this same sweater with slight alterations for my daughter, who is wearing it in a green and black combination. So yeah, lovely basic sweater pattern with a nice collar, and you can wear something like this, a turtleneck underneath if it's cold on a day like today here in Ireland, or you can just wear it with a t-shirt underneath, or not, or just a vest. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing today. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed me talking about the different projects that I'm working on. I'm very curious to see what you are doing at the moment, if you're spinning, if you're knitting, and what you are making. If you have any questions about the designs that I spoke about, let me know. And thanks very much for all your likes and follows. If you'd like to subscribe to see more content from me, you can do so by just hitting the subscribe button if you want to do so. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle is here. It's Frederique Knits, the same as my YouTube handle. Enjoy knitting, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for the next vlog. Bye!